Hello Stampers, this is Sheila. I'm here today to make a video. A good friend and fellow stamper, Elizabeth, had found this out on Pinterest, I believe is the area she found, and it was a little tissue card. So I looked at the picture and said, I think I can make that, and since there weren't any instructions that we could find anyway. So I came up with this rendition of what was out there and made this little box using the envelope folder, the envelope punch board. And so this was the card I made, and we're going to change it up a little bit with a little bit of different colors and a little bit different style. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so today you're going to need, if you're making this card, I use Blackberry Bliss. It's cut at 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. So let's go ahead and get that scored. And here we have it at 5 1/2. So let's give it a little scoring there. And let's make sure that we've got it matching. And then let's give it a nice little burnish here. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is I had cut 2 at the same size of the mint macaron, and they're cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And one of them I ran through the basket weave, the dynamic basket weave, which is one of my favorites. And so let's go ahead and place this over here just on top. We'll wait to put it on. Well, I guess we could go ahead and put the cording on it, because that's going to be a cording that we're going to use instead of the ribbon I used on the other one. And this is using the Nature's Twine. So let's go ahead and find this little spot here. And I like to use, let's see, what did I do with it? Oh, there it is, my Scotch tape. I like to use a little piece of Scotch tape when I'm first starting to play with it to see where I want it to be at. So let's go ahead and just place it here. And let's wrap it around a couple of times, kind of at an angle to each other. And let's see if we can bring that down just a little bit there. Okay, I think that looks good. Okay, let's snip that. And then we'll go ahead and put another piece of tape on it. And we'll reinforce, of course, glue and everything, but that's just for me to use if I need to reposition it while I'm working with it. Okay, so at this point we can go ahead and adhere that portion to our card front. So let's go ahead and do that. I love when she, Elizabeth had posted the card, she had said that she thought it would make a really good class, and I agree. In fact, we're going to be making this in this coming Friday's class. But I love a challenge where I have to figure out what to do with it. One of those challenges we get each week, I got a little bit of, let me get that off of there, a little bit of glue. One of the challenges we get each week is from our upline, Don Griffith, who gives us card sketches to do, and I just love doing those each week. And so this was kind of another one of those challenges. Okay, the next thing I'd like to do, I went ahead and did this. Let me get the stamp sets that I'm used here. And this is all to save time, because some of this takes a little while. I used from Very Vintage, which is one of our Hostess sets, the Dear Friend on it. And then I came over here and I set this all up on my Stamparatus, and I used the Get Well Soon so that it was positioned here. I used the layering ovals and cut out the second to the third to the smallest, and then the next scallop one that's right above that. And then the next thing I did to give it a little bit of bling is I used our basic adhesive back sequins, which were these. Match the mint macaron really well. And then in the center of them, I decided they need a little bit more blitz, and so we put some pearls on those, and that comes from our basic pearls. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this up on dimensionals. one thing I still had on my pegboard over there. I think 3 would be plenty. Okay. And while we're doing all of this, let's make sure we've got our card opening in the right direction. We don't want to do this upside down, which I know we've all done in the past, so let's not try that one again. Okay, so this is going to go to the inside of the card. We'll go ahead, we'll stamp the other portion of it. And since our box is kind of our last one, I'll go ahead and we'll stamp the inside and get it done, and then we'll make the box and we'll have a card. So you can see it's really quick and easy. So let's put that there and bring our Stamparatus over. And I decided to use thinking of you because that way I can in it say, you know, because I'm saying, dear friend, get well, then it's thinking of you, and then I can put a little note to go with that. So we're going to go ahead and use the Blackberry Bliss, and before I do that, I'm going to put my little sleeves on my sister had gotten me. It helps to, especially these dark colors, I seem to get them everywhere. In fact, you probably see some of the Blackberry Bliss from earlier when I was doing the other card. So let's see if I can avoid doing that today. Okay, so let's go ahead and stamp this up and come on over. Make sure you give it that 10-second rule, making sure that ink transfers. Okay, beautiful. And so now I'd like to just take, I put on a block, one of the flowers from those stamp sets, and I'm just going to kind of give it a little touch up here. Let me make sure that I've got that off the extra rubber here. Don't want to mess it up now that we got it this far. Okay, so we'll just stamp that here. All right, just wanted to bring the floral scene from the DSP around to this, and I think this here would be good. All right, I think that's gorgeous. Let's go ahead and put that to a side. Mark my stamp off real quick, take this off, and probably need to go ahead and close our Blackberry Bliss stamp pad to make sure we don't get any on us. So let me wipe that off, make sure I've got everything off so I don't get ink anywhere. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove those. I'm not going to be doing any more inking after that. All right, so let's go ahead and adhere this down. And for the exact measurements, all the supplies I use, if you'll just look in on my blog, which this film will be also included on my blog, so you don't have to go anywhere. And it'll have all the supplies and measurements to make this card if you'd like to. Okay, let's set this aside for a second, and let's get our envelope board out. And before that, I'm going to, the DSP that we're using today is this from the Frosted Florals, and it's this paper right here. That's what we're using. This is the most gorgeous frosted floral designer paper that I think we've had. And if you can see, look at all the luscious colors that can be used in this. In fact, I've kind of got that upside down. That should be going this way. Okay, and so I like to do these pages because you get to see the, let me move it over so you can see the front and back. See, when I'm glancing and looking for what I want to do on my card making, I'll go through and flip through the book and get my DSP book out because I have them in different drawers and I have to remember where they are and not spend so much time hunting for them. So I decided to categorize them by drawer. So I have the drawer that I'm going to be here. It tells me what catalog I got it out of. That way I know when they retire that I can use it on my personal stuff, but probably won't be using them out on when I'm doing the filming. And you'll have to excuse a little bit of the pounding. I've got my windows open today. It's so beautiful outside and cool. And my barn doors are waving in the wind. So, okay, let's go ahead and get our envelope punch board out here. And for this one, I cut it at the DSP by 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. And then I'm going to use our new nifty tool. Instead of the piece that comes with it, I'm using this so much. I just absolutely love it. I think everybody should have one. So if you haven't gotten yours, go to my store and get you one. Okay, let's go ahead, and our first punch is going to be at 1 7/8. So let's find our 1. There it is. Sorry. Sitting here looking at my 2s instead of my 1s. Okay, we want to punch and come across here. And our second punch is at 2 1/4. So we're going to punch that. And bring our down. Then all we're going to do is come here and line it up from here on out. We'll line it up with the score lines, and we're going to punch and find our little groove. And then we're going to move it over to the next score line and punch a little groove, and continue doing this on all sides. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. So now we've got all of our scoring done. So we'll go ahead and put this to the side. All right, and then I like to take and burnish all the edges here. So let's go ahead and get my bone folder out. Make sure we get all the fold lines in there. And this box I did where it would measure, let's see, it was 2 1/2 by 2 with a 1/4 inch height to it. And so that's the measurement that this will make, which I thought was a cute rendition of a Kleenex box, which is what we're trying to show here. So I thought that came out real good. Sometimes, unfortunately, using some of these frosted colors like this, as gorgeous as they are, it makes a little bit of a glare, so I'm having to kind of hunt and peck on where those score lines are, make sure I don't do them. I think I got them all. Okay, so now what we want to do is come over here, and we want to nip either this corner, however we want to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and nip this corner because we want to glue those little edges in to make us a box. So I'm going to go here and do it on each side. And then one right here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we'll bring this up and we'll glue these little corners in, and then we'll bring this around. But before that, we need to put our center in here. So I'm going to put this on pause for a second and cut that out. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back now. My big shot was over there, poor planning on my part, not having it here handy to me. What I did was take a piece of the Blackberry Bliss, and I ran the layering oval framelits, this small one here. I ran that through first to cut out the DSP, and then I ran it through a scrap piece of the Blackberry Bliss, and then once I cut that out, then I took and brought this on top of it to give me, cut it out of the oval that it left out there. Then I lined it up and cut out the little scallops around there to just give it a little extra. And then on the piece that I had made up here, these were the 2 sizes that I used in making that portion of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish making our box here. And we were getting ready to start squaring our corners. And before we close it up completely and everything, we will take and put our little piece of Kleenex in there for making the portion that comes out. So you want to square those off. And if you wanted to, you could use a little bit of tearing tape on those little tiny pieces, but and since we glue it so well down, it probably would work fine with a snail as well. But just for safety's sake and being able to maneuver it around, giving me a couple of seconds. I like using my Tombow glue. Let me get this over here where you can see it. I probably got you out of frame again. I have a bad habit of doing that, holding things up where I can see it instead of where you can see it. Okay, I think those are holding pretty well. So let's go ahead and tack this next one. And while we've got it, let's go ahead and tack this one as well. So get this glue on here and finish our box out here. And I did get a little bit too much glue there, so I'm going to take this little piece of paper, and there we go. Wipe off the excess. Wipe off the excess off of me as well. And then we're going to do this corner here. And I think we've got all of our corners. Okay. So now when we fold this down, when we finish putting our Kleenex in, then we get this little Kleenex box. Isn't that precious? Okay, so let's go ahead and put the Kleenex in. And the way I started it off is I took just a corner of a piece of tissue and I kind of put that corner sticking out as though it's being pulled out, like so. And then when I had enough of it, then I just kind of folded this down just to support it and keep it in place and give the box a little bit of filling space, I guess you could call it, just to keep it all together. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring this down and make sure we're squared again and make sure that our tissue is where we want it to be, and it is. And let's go ahead and put us some glue. One of our little corners came out there, so let's tuck it in real quick. There we go. And then pull this. I'm going to go out of the camera for just a second just to get this close to me where I can maneuver it a little bit better. While the glue is still wet. Okay, here we go. Make sure it's all squared off good. Isn't that precious? So now we've got our little Kleenex box. So the next stage is to add it to the top of our card here, and then we have our completed card here. So let's go ahead and bring us some glue on the back here. I was still trying to square it off a little bit. There's one edge of it wanting to slide. So let's put our glue on and see if we can't do that. And you do want to glue it down pretty well so that you don't have it coming off on you. And you would want to send this in a bubble wrap envelope to keep it from getting crushed. Okay. So let's hold this down for a second, make sure the glue adheres. But this is a fun, quick card to make. And so hopefully you enjoyed this video, and we'll come back again and see us real soon. And here's what the inside of the card looks like on both of them. Sending you our thoughts and prayer on this one. And then on this particular one, and that's still drying, I put thinking of you, which you saw me punch or stamp because of the flowers that were in the front. I wanted to, and the flowers of the DSP, I wanted to be sure and follow all that through. All right, until next time, God bless.